to my channel after a 2-and-a-bit-year absence. I'm so happy to be back. This is my third time trying to record this video, so I've had lots of practice with what I want to say, whether I wanted it or not. So here I am. I have been away for a while, and I felt like it was time for me to make the great comeback. If you're new to my channel, then my name is Natalie. I believe you'll probably see the name The Daughter of Covenant as well, and that's the name of my website. And on there I write lots and lots of blog posts about different things that come to mind, mostly related to things that I study. And on my YouTube channel, the aim is to almost continue what I do on my website. So this is an extension of what you'll see on my website if you take the time to visit it. And if you're returning to my channel, then you know what it's all about, so welcome back. So returning new, you know, hello, hi, you're welcome to my channel. I am just going to get right ahead and get into today's video. I've got some exciting updates for you, and hopefully a word that I believe will minister to each and every single one of us, whether in relation to a past experience, a current experience, or even something that may occur in the future, whether for us or, you know, the people that we have around us. So stay tuned as we get into it. So first of all, in the last, 2 years where I haven't been on YouTube, I have been doing other stuff, and specifically in the last 7 months, I have had a big update in my family life, in that I'm now no longer a single person household. I have another being living in my house, another creation of our wonderful God, and it's been so intense learning how to live with this being. But by the grace of God, I'm living to tell the tale. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to Marley. If you know me, then you might have met Marley, or come across him on, well actually no, I haven't posted him on social media, so you probably don't know Marley. Let me get Marley. Thinking, what on earth is this woman doing? Fun fact, he's scared of the camera, so as soon as I whipped out the camera, he quickly ran into his safe place, which is his crate, and went to tuck himself away in there. But then he came out after I set it all up and was just watching me, waiting for me to be finished because it's almost his dinner time. Okay, so Marley, everyone say hello, Marley. Hi. Marley is my doggy who came to live with me in August last year and has survived because I have been looking after him so well. Hi baby. Oh, he is so cute. Look at that cute little face. If you're afraid of dogs, then you don't have to be afraid of Marley, because he's just the cutest little boy. I just got back from work and he was so excited to see me, weren't you? So I brought Marley into my home and we began this training, and I had to learn how to live with another living being. And honestly, you guys, I have to say it has been the hardest and the best thing I have ever done. Hardest in terms of how much time I've had to dedicate to learning how to live with him, and for him to live with me, learn how to live with me. And I never ever thought I would be saying this, but I have learned so much about just relationship, and you would think that I would learn from human beings, but no, it took a dog for me to learn things like patience and things, because apparently I have more patience for a dog than I do for other human beings. That's besides the point. Anyway, we've had several like exciting things happen, with Marley and I in training. Very exciting things, like he's learned how to use buttons. So if you see the dogs that press the buttons to talk, well, Marley can do that. He knows like 4 words, but he can do that. And even down to just responding to my instructions. And a big part of how I relate with Marley and vice versa is his ability to respond to what I instruct him to do. So obedience training is a huge part of it, and vice versa. I have to be able to anticipate his needs. I have to be able to respond to his needs, and also just figure out what he's trying to communicate with me. So it's been a huge learning curve, because we obviously don't speak the same language, but interestingly, he does have a language. He does speak, he communicates in ways that aren't human, but he has eerily like human eyes. So sometimes he looks at me, and I call it his I adore you face, because sometimes I'll just be sitting watching TV and he'll come sit in front of me and be like, his tail wagging, and it's just the most cutest thing ever. I can't resist it. So a few weeks ago, bearing in mind I've had Marley in my home now for about 7 months, I took Marley to a park and I lost him. Yes, it was a very, very big lesson for me to learn, but I lost him. And in losing him, I immediately imagined the worst and panicked, only for me to kind of make my way back home and find Marley waiting for me, which was such a huge relief. And in that short space of time where I didn't have my Marley and I was walking around trying to figure out where he'd gone, after I'd found him and like calmed down and dissected the whole thing, I was immediately reminded of the parable of the lost sheep, where Jesus tells the story of a shepherd who loses one of his sheep. Out of the 100 that he has, he loses one, and so he leaves the 99 to go find this one sheep that he has lost. And I thought about how I had responded to losing Marley and having him return, and I thought, if I can treat a dog this way, he is a member of my household, and I love him, how much more God in terms of how he deals with us. I had so many mixed feelings when I lost Marley. The first one being panic, just in terms of I don't want anything to happen to him. Then I descended into rage at how dare he run away from me. I feed him 2 quality meals a day. He has access to water. I play with him, I cuddle him, take him on walks. Like, I put a roof over his head. How dare he run away from me because he thinks he was scared of something, which incidentally is what happened. He ran off because there were 2 boys running and he thought they were coming after him. I don't know. And then I just immediately went into worry, concern, stress. I was just like, oh my God, I don't want anything to happen to him. Like, I don't know what I would do if I went into the road and I saw him just laying there lifeless. Then I felt responsible, or irresponsible in this case, because I thought, Nat, how could you have let him off the lead in such a busy area, knowing that he's not fully trained yet, and knowing that there were too many kind of variable factors in the environment for you to leave him off the lead in somewhere that could have potentially been unsafe. And as I thought about all of those factors, I thought about myself to be exact, and my relationship with God, where I have often panicked. Sometimes it's something just completely random, like one thing happens and just shakes me to the core, and I'm off doing my own thing, because I'm like, God clearly can't handle the situation, so I need to have my own means to get myself sorted. And so I have become lost in terms of, not knowing where I'm headed, because I have disconnected myself from my source, which is God, from my provider, which is God. And very much like Marley did, because Marley obviously didn't think I could protect him in that moment, and he felt like he needed to keep himself safe away from me or without me. And just in that moment, as heartbreaking as it is to think about, he just didn't see me as his protector. And I thought about how many situations I have encountered in life where I have often taken matters into my own hands. And sometimes it's been triggered by maybe just not hearing a response to a prayer that I've been praying, and therefore have decided to take matters into my own hands. And in that sense, I have become lost, because I have disconnected myself from my source. So that was the first thing that occurred to me. And then I got to thinking, I won't be the only one who feels this way. There will be times in our lives where we may feel disconnected from God. And it could be as a result of just being spooked in general by things that happen in our lives. It could be as a result of, disobedience, waywardness. Jonah being a good example of someone who literally went lost at sea because he was running away from an assignment that God had given me. It could be out of fear. There are so many different things that can happen to us that we panic and without thinking just disconnect ourselves from our provider, from our protector, and decide that we have to take matters into our own hands. And in the case of the parable of the lost sheep, I can't imagine the circumstances that would have led this one sheep to be separated from the flock, but that's exactly what happened. And in amongst all of those feelings I had, I thought about what then happened when I found Marley. And the thing that, the one feeling that I had when I eventually found him in front of my flat was relief. Just sheer joy and relief that, forget the fact that you disobeyed me and ran off when I was calling after you and ignored me and thought you could do this on your own. I'm just so happy you're back, that you found your way back, that nothing happened to you, that you're safe. And I thought about the parable of the lost sheep again, because this shepherd had determined the value of all of his sheep, including this one who had gone missing or who was lost, and decided that it was worth it to leave the 99 in a safe place and actually go out and find that one. And I thought about all of the things that I'd put on hold. Granted, it was a very short period of time where I was searching for Marley, but in that space of time, I was 15 minutes late to a meeting that I was supposed to have been in, because I was only meant to take a short break and didn't anticipate losing Marley. But I had forgotten all about work. I didn't care about being late to that meeting. I didn't care how I looked, because I felt irresponsible. Like, how could I lose my dog? And, you know, people were going to look at me and think, oh my God, like, you don't deserve that dog. How could you lose him? Especially if anything had happened to him. So I just felt such joy and relief that when I then found him, you know, it was really interesting, because when Marley saw me, I think there must have been something in him that knew that what his initial reaction of running off and disobeying my instruction to return was wrong. So when he saw me, he was actually afraid to approach me. And no, it's not because I bully him. He's very well looked after and loved. But it was simply because he wasn't sure how I would react. Now, I may be overthinking his reaction here, but I can imagine if he reasons in a similar way to the way we do as humans, then, you know, in that relationship that we have, it's very possible he would have felt, you know, the way I imagine him to have felt. So when he saw me, he immediately kind of hid behind my car, and I had to change the tone of my voice in order to call him out. And as I was doing it, I was very conscious that I was having to force any sort of instinct to just be like, Marley, that was so naughty. Why did you do that? I had to put aside all thoughts of teaching him a lesson and telling him off and all of that, to just focus on the fact that actually the best thing he could have done in that situation was return home and not get harmed. And that was exactly what he did. And how could I punish him for that? Because then the next time a situation like that happened, would he feel comfortable coming back? No, because all he would think about was what he was coming home to, which was maybe getting in trouble and being shouted at or being told off because he'd done something naughty. And in that moment, the absolute clarity I had and the self-control I had to be able to put aside those feelings and actually change the tone of my voice and gently call him to me was so powerful, because I have always felt as though I struggle in a moment to overcome my initial instinctive urge to do something out of anger or frustration. And I thought, God, how amazing that you see us this way. You know, even when we have done something and we have strayed so far and we have lost our way because maybe we made a wrong choice or we weren't really sure where we were headed, you know, not because we were disobedient, but maybe because we just didn't feel as though we'd had any clarity in the direction and the instruction you'd given us. And so and maybe we doubted God, and so we made our own way. But what a sense of relief to know that no matter how far you strayed, he would always welcome you with open arms, that he would never stop looking for you, that he would never stop going after you, in the same way that I had done with Marley. And then the final thing was, I imagine, you know, dogs are pack animals, and I imagined, again, putting myself in Marley's shoes. How often would we have been in situations where we did get lost, we were wayward, we were disobedient, we doubted, we didn't have enough faith, we, you know, disobeyed God's instruction to us and decided to do things our own way. How often do we actually feel encouraged to return? You know, do we have communities around us, or do we feel safe in an environment, you know, that when we leave, we can come back to that same environment and feel welcomed and feel safe? And the sad reality is, for some of us, we just don't have that. You know, we stray once and feel as though returning, you know, it's that saying about having a walk of shame. You know, when you think about that sentence, the walk of shame, it's knowing that you've done something wrong and then coming back in shame. And actually that wasn't Jesus's message at all. You know, with the parable, it was very much, I just want you back. I don't care in what state you return. I don't care what you did whilst you were away. I just want you back. And how sad it would be for others to stand in our way and make us feel as though we cannot return. And so often that leads us then to make other choices that take us further away from God. And it's because we fear man more than we fear God. We fear the reaction of man, the judgment of man. And we think there is no way this church will accept me. There's no way my community will accept me after everything that I've done. When God is saying, like, just come home. I don't want you to get hurt out there. I don't want you to be in any more pain and suffering. I want you to return home to me. And very often for some of us, there are barriers and resistance to that. There is resistance to that, and we're made to feel ashamed. And the thing is, you know, the biggest, most important thing that I learned through all of this is it's not a sin to be lost. You know, one of the interpretations I always had, rightly or wrongly, and I probably wrongly, was that the 99 were the righteous ones who, they were good. They didn't have, you know, like they didn't get lost. You know, they were good. They obeyed the shepherd and they were safe. Why would this one sheep get lost? And, you know, I'd always in my mind associated kind of unbelievers with the lost sheep, or kind of backslidden believers as the lost sheep, and never ever considered that even when you are connected with God, you can still lose your way, because there are moments, and they are moments, it doesn't define your whole relationship with God. There are moments where we may make the wrong choices that disconnect us from him. And I was also then led to the passage in the Bible where a Pharisee and a tax collector praying in Luke 18, where the tax collector, and given the nature of his job, tax collectors were generally not considered good people. But this tax collector, knowing the reputation he had, knowing the reality of his lifestyle, came forward and said, God, in all humility, there was no boasting about, you know, the fact that he'd made it into the temple to offer prayers. It was, he approached God with all humility, whereas the Pharisee came with pride, proud of his own righteousness. And the tax collector, and that was the very essence of what God's grace was about. We do not glory in our own righteousness, because we're only righteous by God's grace. I just wanted to encourage you this evening or morning, afternoon, whenever you watch this video, if you're in a situation or in a season in your life, at a place in your life where you feel as though you're not quite sure where you're headed. You know, to be lost is quite literally to not know where you're headed or to not know where you are. And it's not a sin to have that moment of, actually, I don't know what I'm doing, and God, I need you, because those are the moments that God cherishes with us. So if you are feeling that way, whatever the resistance is, whatever the barriers are to your return, I just want to pray for you today that they will all melt away. That any hesitation you feel about returning because you think your sin is too great, you've been away for too long, you should have known better, you know, whatever it is, forget all of that and just come back. And you know what coming back looks like? It looks like just saying the name of God and saying Yahweh. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. Please help me. And there is no prerequisite. Don't ever feel like you have to pass some sort of hurdle in order to be accepted, because God already said it. There is nothing that can separate us from the love of God. So I want to encourage you today, even if you feel like you're not lost, maybe lost is not the right word. You know, maybe you just feel disconnected. That cord has not been cut. It's not cut. It can't be cut. Just say a prayer tonight and see what God will do. Say whatever is on your mind. Don't overthink it. Don't worry about what people will say or do or react or judge you for. Just come back home. That's all God wants. So I suspect there will be many more lessons that Marley's going to teach me, and it's so interesting living with a being that God has created, and I'm honestly always amazed when I look at him. We understand each other. Like, I know when he's happy, I know when he's trying to be naughty because he sneaks past me whilst making eye contact. Weird. I know when he's nervous, I know when he's scared, and I feel so responsible for him because God created him and I have brought him into my household, and therefore I am going to look after him to the best of my ability. And as I do so, God is going to use him to teach me many lessons, most importantly about patience, because I have been learning about loads of that. Still don't have much with humans, but for dogs, lots. And if that irks you, then I'm sorry, I'm not being flippant, or like, it's just a matter of fact. So anyway, that is all I have for today. So after you watch this video, like I said, say a prayer. And even if it's not for you, could be for someone else. Maybe there's someone who's opened up to you about a situation that they're in. Pray for them. We have to pray for each other. We have to be there. We have to, you know, be there for each other and look out for each other. And, you know, God uses us to look out for each other. So yes. And with that being said, I will see you in my next video, and Marley probably will too. All right, guys, take care. See you in my next video. Bye.